of pushing it all into the middle and keep on gambling with my, with
my
head
health,
trauma.
my life.
Yeah, with your life. Maybe I should just take it and go home and everything. So how do you deal with that?
Well, first, I wish we can post pictures on podcast, but we can't. Maybe just go to
mmqb.com
to be able to see a picture. But I think you need to put that picture there for athletes, not really for the listeners and viewers, but and the followers. But that picture to me is everything, because in that moment my career could have been over. Not just my season or not just the game, but my career could have been over. Everything in my knee could have been gone.
Did you feel like it was?
What if I was in year 1, year 2, and I didn't make what I've made? Then what? And that's the reason why I'm on Showtime now. That's the reason why I take meetings on my day off and shadow people and do internships and go to Harvard for their executive programs to learn now. Because if that was the moment where it was done, then I would have already lined up what's next. And that's why our guys are not only mentally unstable when the game is taken away from us in moments like that, or we retire, or we don't make it. Is because we don't think about the future. We don't. We're told from little kids, we're told this, or we tell ourselves that all we are athletes. That's what I'm here for. That's my purpose in life. So you're placed on this pedestal your whole life. You place yourself on this pedestal your whole life saying, this is what I'm here for. But then when the game is taken away from you, the lights are turned off, the checks no longer come in, we're left in ruins. So for me, I think that all of our athletes should take advantage of this time now, not only to be great athletes, but figure out what they really want in life. What is their real purpose? Because football isn't it. It's just a talent. Football isn't it. To me, all of our purposes are different, but it does the same thing, and that's to help the world and people be better. That's it. Now you got to figure out your place in that. And when you talk about head trauma and thinking about, like, do you continue to push the chips all in, or do you say, all right, enough's enough? Yeah, I think majority of the players are thinking that. You have to. I mean, the game. You mean
are wondering about their future?
Yeah, the game is great. It's done a lot for a lot of us. Some of us would be no telling where we would be if it wasn't for this sport. And then you also got to think about the life skills and life lessons that you learn through sports and football. You can't learn these things anywhere else. So football's been great, but it's volatile, and it comes to a point where you have to say enough's enough. But, I think it's different for every guy.
Brandon, I want to ask you a little bit about Jerry Rice. And I asked this to Larry Fitzgerald recently. He's also going to be on this podcast this week. And one of the things that I wondered with Larry Fitzgerald is, you're now basically 5 full seasons away from catching Jerry Rice. You're probably 6 full seasons away if you were the same receiver every year for the next 6 years, which is probably impossible. But I wonder.
Impossible.
It's not impossible.
It's not impossible because technology is better and medicine is better.
Do you
think it comes down to the heart, and if you're willing to put in the work and the sacrifice and have that commitment to go chase it.
Yeah. But right now you are, as we sit here after 2 weeks of the 2016 season, you're 660 catches behind Jerry Rice. Yeah. Could you ever see yourself playing that long? And B, how about this Jerry Rice? I mean, is that
right?
1,549 catches in the NFL?
Insane.
It's insane.
I don't know how he did it, man. I don't. Can I see myself playing that long? Yes, I can.
Wow.
I can, but I don't think I will. I think I have a couple years left in me, including this one. I'm ready to move on to do other things, but I definitely have some unfinished business here, like some serious unfinished business.
Okay. So you have a couple of records that I find interesting. One is that you've had more 100 catch seasons than anyone in history. You've got 6 of those. So what do you attribute that to? Do you attribute, because you've had to play with a bunch of different quarterbacks too?
Yeah.
So how have you been able to go from one team to the next? And you were only, 11 away from having one of those seasons in Miami. What do you attribute being able to be consistently good for so many different teams?
It's all mental. It's all mental. You know, we say this all the time, but I don't know if we really believe it, but the game is 70% mental. You know, this is also a talent I think a lot of guys have, and I'm happy that I'm one of them, and that's being able to understand the game, the flow of the game, and understand, you know, what the quarterback is expected, and the offensive coordinator wants. Understand what defensive coordinators are throwing at you and where the zone is, and should you throttle down, should you run through. Catching a ball, okay, yeah, that's God-given. You definitely can sharpen up that skill. You know, there's definitely things you can do there. But a lot of it's really easy, Peter. I can help you. Like, if you come work out with me at my gym, I can help you catch 50 balls a year because you're a smart guy. I'm telling you, when you see cover 2 and you have a 5-yard hitch route, you know that you could just run to the numbers. You got a 2-yard split, so you're 2 yards outside the number. I see the safety get off the hash, and he's 20 yards deep, corners 5 yards, and he's outside his cover 2. And I know I have a 5-yard hitch. Run to the numbers. The cornerback is supposed to be in the flat, and he's going to be 4 yards outside the number. The linebacker is going to drop into the curl zone, so there's a gap right there. When you understand a game that way and you can break it down that way, you can catch 50 balls, and I can help you. You may not get 100.
But I'm 59 years old. I think it would be difficult.
No, it doesn't matter. If your body, we'll make sure your body holds up, and I'll teach you all of those little ins and outs.
But isn't it getting on the same wavelength with, say, a Ryan Fitzpatrick, so that he knows exactly some of your mannerisms? Yes. He knows when to throw the ball. You know when you turn around, that ball is already going to be in the air. Well,
yeah, it does, and that's an interesting point right there. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've been traded a few times. You know, definitely from Miami was one of them, and the reason why is because, well, let me back up. The thing that I focus on now is succeeding with character. Succeeding with character. That's what I say all the time. I want to succeed with character. Before I was catching 100 balls, but then my quarterback may be mad at me, or I may have pissed a few people off because I demand like greatness. Like I demand the ball. When it's cover 1, everyone in the stadium needs to know not only does the ball's coming to me, but I demand that it comes to me, or I'm coming to the sideline and we're going to have a problem. So that was in the past. Now my communication is different. You know, I'm able to demand
What do you now if you don't get the ball and you come to the sidelines at the end of a series? What do you say to Ryan Fitzpatrick?
I don't have to, because I've communicated with him the right way throughout the whole week or the whole off season now. So we're on the same page. His expectations are the same as mine, and vice versa. So I know that he wants to get me the ball. Now I know Chan Gailey wants to get me the ball. They think it's healthy for our offense. So I don't have to worry about that anymore of like, what do my teammates feel about me, the quarterback, the offensive coordinator. I know they want to get me the ball. So now what I do is I go to him and I just get on the same page with him. Ryan, what are you thinking on this play? You know, Ryan, this is how I'm going to run this route. When I get to the top, it may look a little funky because you haven't seen this little jerky move at the top, but don't panic. So we talk about all these things. We play the game 2 or 3 times before we even get to Sunday. So that's why I catch 100 balls. That's why Larry Fitzgerald has been so dominant all these years. That's why Antonio Brown's so good, because there's guys like that who demand excellence, but they know how to communicate with their teammates the right way, their quarterback the right way, and they're on the same page. For me, it took me 5 years for me to understand how to do it the right way. Instead of going to the quarterback and saying, "What are you doing?"
And raging at him. Yeah,
it was 1-on-1. You're supposed to throw me the ball. I don't understand it. I was 5 yards behind him. Now I go to him. I say, "What were you thinking? I was open. What are you doing?" And I'll slap him on the butt, you know, just play with him, have fun, you know, or I just go and say, you know, "What were you thinking on that play?" You know, so I'm able to use different skills and tools to be able to communicate with those guys. I just said the same thing. Like on one, I said, "Throw me the damn ball. What are you thinking?" On the other, I said the same thing, but it was in a good spirit. Like, "Bro, I was open. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. We need to cut you right now."
Yeah.
So it's been fun, man. And one of the things that I really appreciate about this game is that it's given me the opportunity to correct my mistakes. In football. That's why, you know, I would love to play a couple more years, is because the first couple of years I did a lot of damage. And it's not.
If you could go back to anybody in that period of time and basically say, "Hey, sorry, wish I could have done it differently?
Yeah.
Like in your Denver years, is there anybody you wish that?
The guy, I think about this all the time, and there's probably a list of 100 guys and women, like people in the organization. There's so many different people, not just players, but there's men and women in organizations that do so much for us to be able to be at our best on Sunday. But there's one guy that always stand out when I think about this, and that's Brian Dawkins.
Why? Because
Brian Dawkins was at the end of his career, and we had a great team, and I didn't do my part to help him reach that Super Bowl and get that ring, and we had an opportunity. Josh McDaniels' first year, we started out 6-0. I never understood it. After our 6th win in a row, we're 6-0, and Josh McDaniels says after our win, he said, I think it was maybe even the Dallas Cowboys, he says, hey, victory money, I'm giving you guys off. And Brian Dawkins, he was like, no. Let's keep it rolling. And I'm young, and I didn't understand the sacrifice that it took and it takes to be a Super Bowl champion or to be successful. And I was like, no, I want my Monday off. I want to go party. I want to go hang out. I don't want to come in. I don't want to work. And I never understood. I was looking at this guy like, man, you're a bad teammate. We went off. And then I remember just his commitment, his sacrifice. I remember him coming to me one day in the locker room. It was just me and him, and it was weird. It was just me and him in the locker room, in the whole facility besides, Greek, our trainer.
Steve Antonopoulos.
Yep. And he comes and sits next to me, and he never said anything to me about the contract negotiations or how I was conducting myself. And he was like, how are you doing, man? You okay, man? And I got really defensive. But anyways, to make a long story short, the reason why I always think about him, because now I'm in that same position, and I look at the guys that way, man, I don't have but so much left in me, and I really want this for so many different people and for different reasons. And I see how guys don't really understand how significant this moment is, and it's only a moment, and it goes by like that. And that one guy, I was like, man, he was at the end of his career, and I was a jerk. I came in, I didn't get in my playbook because I was mad at Josh McDaniels for telling me yes and no on trades and contracts. I was just in a bad place, and I let him down.
What would you say to Brian Dawkins right now if you saw him?
Man, I'll say it right now. I stay in contact with Brian now. He's really a good friend, but I never said this. I was actually thinking about writing a letter to him. I was actually thinking about writing a letter to those 100 people that we talked about and apologizing. City, and not just those 100 people, but the city of Denver, the city of Miami, and just, I'm sorry, man. I didn't get it. Just, wow. It was just so immature and blind. I didn't understand in that moment how interconnected we all are and how we all count on each other. What Brian Dawkins did affected me, my wife, my children. What I did affected his wife, his children. We don't think that deep. It really does. I remember the year Coach Shanahan got fired. We were playing against Jacksonville. This always stood out to me. I had a chance to just walk in against the Jacksonville Jaguars and score. Literally no one's around me. The ball just dropped. I'm on a 1-yard line about to cross. The ball dropped out of my hands. They pick it up. They end up winning the game by a touchdown. Coach Shanahan gets fired the year after. And I was like, wow, that's my fault. And I thought about that play because we were one game away from making the playoffs. And if we made the playoffs, he had never been fired. And I was like, man, that was on me. And I've always looked at it that way. How did I contribute to that problem? And those are the moments that, you really think about and you hold on to. But it's also those moments in the locker room where you're celebrating with your teams. We beat the New York Giants last year. That was an awesome moment. We beat the Patriots last year. We had guys in the locker room and coaches in the locker room with tears in their eyes, crying. Those are the moments you remember. It's not the contract. It's not the stats. It's not Hall of Fame. It's none of that. It's the guys. And when you listen to all the Hall of Fame speeches, and that's one of the best times of the football year for me, is when we're in camp and we get a chance to listen to all the speeches, you hear the guys say the same thing over and over again. It's the guys. That's most important. That's what I miss, being in the locker room with the guys.
It's the MMQB Podcast with Peter King.
Hey everyone, football season's here, and it's time to get in on the action and play like the pros at mybookie.net. It's the most exciting experience for sports fans. MyBookie features real Vegas odds and incredible player props on every football game. Game already kicked off? It's not too late to play. MyBookie has